Sponsored by Sue Minahan.
Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for soul growth. Come journey with us through astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sue, and this is Talk Cosmos. And today, the panel is being presented is archetypal symbols. We always look at the new moon. We're in the eclipse season. The lunar eclipse will be in 2 weeks, and the new moon is tomorrow. And when it begins, it actually is the clockwork that synchronizes with Pluto doing its final 2-month retrograde in Capricorn, meaning its ruler really will be 100% Saturn. We are manifesting visualizations. Saturn's going to help us a lot. Saturn is what looks at essential, fundamental core issues. And in Pisces, hey, it's sort of a wobbly path. I know for me, and look at all those lights in my glasses. That's exactly what it seems like. Can I see what's happening? Is it foggy? Is it being reflected? There's a lot of questions. It's a process. What can we say? Except that we are ready now to help you get a little bit clearer understanding of what it takes to find your manifesting visualization along with the rest of us, because Pisces, okay, that's enough. We're ready for archetypal symbols.
Synthesizing the new moon consciousness through archetypal Sabian symbols, numerology, lunar mansions, tarot, and astrology, all together illuminating a new moon vision story. This is your archetypal symbols panel.
I'm Sue Rose Minahan, founder of Talk Cosmos since 2018. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, consultant, speaker, writer, vibrational astrology student, Dwarf Planet University graduate, Kepler Astrology Toastmasters Club charter member. I have a fine arts music degree plus a certificate in jazz. I'm an artist, musician, and certified color energy life coach. Especially, I love mythology and esoteric philosophies.
I'm Elizabeth Liz Muschett, a professional astrologer, intuitive, numerologist, and tarot reader. I'm a certified sacred healing counselor, providing nurturing, in-depth consultations for individuals and couples. I'm an author, blogger, speaker, and international Reiki master and teacher. I create safe space in which to explore the deeper patterns of your life, to clarify your current circumstances and help you find your best path forward.
And I'm Justin Crocket Elzie, an archetypal Jyotish astrologer, yoga and meditation teacher, and author. I combine both Western ancient astrology and modern psychological astrology with Eastern Vedic astrology, and I specialize in predictive, electional, and karmic astrology for individuals and couples. I also do in-depth astrological research into arcane astrological concepts, focusing on the mystical, occult side of astrology.
Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift." And that's why it's called the present. Hi, Justin, and hi, Liz.
Hi, Sue. Hi, Liz.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Yep, it is. The clock continues into a new month. The equinox is ahead. Everybody has a new quarterly calendar that we've been thinking about. And what I really loved about this manifesting visualization was recognizing, as you both know, and I picked up, that it's not just our own that's so important and that is paramount, but it's seeing how everybody's weaving it in. That's perhaps the positive viewpoint of it all, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we shall begin. We have always lots packed in here. And let me just announce that Elizabeth Liz Muschett can be found at alightpath.com, and Justin Crocket Elzie can be found at justincrocketelzie.com. They both have emails, and they both have YouTube channels, which we will go in further with at the half hour, and of course Talk Cosmos for myself and the channel. Tomorrow will be 11 degrees and 4 minutes of Virgo, and that's at 9:55 p.m. Eastern. Is that time correct? 9:50. It's 13 seconds after that. Yeah, it's 9:55 p.m. Eastern time. And we have charts for your time in particular, if that is a focus for you. And Virgo consciousness is one of the most interesting because it's Earth, which we think of stability, but it's mutable. It's one of those energetic, dynamic, and I think very much because it is about growth. It's that life and death cycle where life comes into fruition and then it passes away to return again. Any comments? Let's just flush this out a little bit.
Well, finishing up the summer season to go into the autumn or fall season.
Yes, indeed. So it's all about nourishment and growth, along with service. Virgo is very service oriented. And in a sense, isn't that what food does? It services us. And along with service, it nurtures us. So it's really a very...
Yeah, it's really about helping others too. Virgo is about service and helping others, and it's also analytical, looks for details and perfection with things. So it's a sign of health and purging.
Exactly. Very well put. Refinement in that perfection need, because its polarity sign in Pisces says everything's happening naturally, let it go. But Virgo realizes, you know what, if that's the case, our house is going to be overgrown with plants and the path we can't find to get to our home, and we need to prune things a bit.
Yeah, cleaning up the garden to get ready for the next season.
Yep, that too. Yeah, get the harvest. Very big on harvest. That's exactly right. Meaning that attention to detail is so important. However, as everything, there's a shadow side. If it's because they're so capable, it's a matter of fix. But sometimes it becomes too much fixing, because Pisces is a polarity, and there's a mystical way of how things work together. So it's allowing that part and worrying about it, like, oh dear, because again, it's like they're capable of doing things, but it's allowing life to happen. You could say. The numerology has that master number 11, because it is 11 degrees and it adds up to 2. Essentially.
Yes, and the number 11 is very intuitive and spiritual, and has telepathic gifts. And then, it's about spiritual awakening and being a teacher and servicing humanity in some way, teaching what you know, sharing it with others. And then the 11 reduces down to 2. So it's the moon, it's duality, partnership, balance, and harmony.
Really coincides with Virgo so beautifully. And that emotional, because if you care about somebody, it is an emotional experience often, or that's the best side of it. Looking at the tarot is the arcana, major arcana, the Hermit. And it's a sign of solitude. And in that process, it's introspection and soul searching. For what reason? For spiritual enlightenment. You find wisdom.
Yeah, because the Hermit is associated with Virgo. So, yeah, that inner knowledge, it's the experiences you've had in life. And then the shadow can be isolation or stagnation.
Yep. And the way to get out of that is a little bit of caregiving, perhaps. Justin, any thoughts?
No, you got it covered there.
Okay. There are minor arcana cards which relate to the decans of astrology. And that's with tarot and astrology. Essentially, you divide 30 degrees of each sign into, parcel it out to 10 degrees. In Vedic, as I've learned, the Pada is 4 divisions, but here it's 3. So it's meaning that if you have, and I was reading more about this, and I know that Liz, you have a show wonderfully that has a special with Joy Vernon and going into them at depth too. But remarkably, like all, there's a cycle. So it starts off with the traditional planets and then it repeats and repeats and repeats, meaning that for here, the first 10 degrees of Virgo relates to the sun. And these are approximately when you could be born to have that. But it is the Eight of Pentacles, and Pentacles are material aspects. That's always of the Tarot. There's the 4. Go ahead, Liz.
Well, and the Eight of Pentacles is about apprenticeship and mastering your craft, and it can be about crafts and craftsmanship also. And the order that you were mentioning of the planets is called the Chaldean order.
Yes, good point. Exactly. So it's interesting and not so random when one's looking at like, well, what is this system? I'd like to know what the patterns are. I'm a big pattern person. So it really helps me accept without that argument going like, seems kind of strange to me. But that's the beautiful part about all of astrology and these metaphysical arts is they relate to life. There is a order that rotates. Justin, any thoughts?
No, I just wanted to say that these that we're going through is actually, if people want to know more about it, then it actually comes from the Golden Dawn, the English occultists, and before that, the French occultists were the ones that actually assigned the astrology to the tarot. But the breakdown of what the lords are and the meaning of this astrological association with the tarot cards is spelled out from the Golden Dawn.
Yeah, and there is good information online about this. This is very true. So the second set, decan, and I always wonder, I think a deacon's like the English, and I have trouble with words, I confess. Don't know why I was put on this planet, but I was. At any rate, so I hope correct me if it's decan, I get with different languages. But it's deacon, right? I mean, I know this. It's just all of a sudden my mind argues. Yes?
Yeah, or decanate,
okay.
Either one.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So the 9 of Pentacles is Venus that follows the sun in Virgo, and it's Lord of material gain. It's where you have this luxurious prosperity and stability and security.
Yeah, you've worked hard to attain and gain this with your mature years, I would say. And some people are doing that younger and younger these days.
Well, 10 degrees, yes, to 19 late. And the last would be Mercury in Virgo. If you have it anywhere between 20 to 29, 59 Virgo, it's also a Pentacles. So we're talking about material aspects, earth aspects, Lord of Prudence. Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, it's about material, luxury, and lineage, and the mundane. And then now that you've accomplished what you need to accomplish, now you can work on the spiritual part.
Justin, you had your hand out. What?
Yeah, this is actually the Lord of Wealth.
That's right.
The Lord of
Darn, that's right. I forgot. Yes,
yeah.
Thank you, sir. That's
No
right. Absolutely. Okay, well, good point. Because I was fascinated with the wealth, and I know what I was doing. I was trying to make these systematic, so I was borrowing from one slide and another, and details in life.
Yeah.
Wow. But wealth is so interesting because this idea that the greatest, from what I heard, was what you inherit as far as wisdom and health, the lineage passed on. It's a very ancestral idea, and it really goes along with Mercury. That's the between Earth. I mean, the realms. That the what's the name? The name. Somebody quick. No, pump. The psycho pump. They can go between the worlds. I mean, I'm really clear on this. It rules my whole chart. It's not just what you see, it's what you don't see. It's that invisible past of realms. And that's our lineage. So it's a fascinating thing. So if you have anything between 20 and 30 degrees of Virgo.
Right. It would be the 10 of Pentacles card if you apply the tarot to it.
I'm handing it off to Justin, the Nakshatras.
Yeah, so as Sue, you pointed out earlier that there's a breakdown between how we parse out the zodiac signs. In the Jyotish or Vedic Hindu astrology, they call them Nakshatras, or in the Western, it's called lunar mansions. And so this is all about the stories and the myths of the stars that are within the lunar mansions, the breakdown of the zodiac within the zodiac signs. So when we take a look at this one, and I just want to kind of preface something here that I found was kind of interesting, and Liz and I were talking about this a little bit before. I think people with this show, they're going to see today a lot around resources, work, service, because we see that the ascendant, the midheaven, and the moon are all in earth signs. And so as we've seen prior with that tarot, with all the pentacles, we saw wealth, we saw resources, we saw work, and that's really kind of the theme that's going to happen here throughout this whole show today. And so we see that actually with the Nakshatra. This particular Nakshatra that the moon is in is called Purva Falguni, and it's in the second pada. Now, this nakshatra actually goes between two signs in the Jyotish, Leo and Virgo. But this particular moon in the Jyotish is a little bit into Leo, but it still has that same overlap energy of the Virgo in the Western chart, in the tropical chart. So the keyword themes for this particular nakshatra is enterprising, again, work, enterprising. It has sort of a carefree feel to this creative imagination with work, and it can be detail oriented. Again, this relates to the Virgo, and it's hard working. Now, the ruling planet here is Venus, and we know that Venus rules Taurus again, and that is the ascendant for this moon. The ruling deity is Bhaga, which is one of the solar deities. And of course, the symbol here is the hammock, which again is all about this kind of free, carefree way one may see work. And of course, if we look at conceptual in the world, when we've done the hard work, then we can kind of step back and have that carefree attitude about things. And so that's kind of how that plays out here. The basis above and below here is the same. So there is another theme we're going to see today when we get into Sabian symbols and the planets today is relationships and partnerships, because we're still in that node, that with the lunar nodes in Libra, sign of relationship, and of course the Aries, the sign of self. So there is something about this moon about partners and communications and working and resources that's going to come up today. But that's really what this nakshatra speaks to. It's really about working hard, enterprising, being creative. So then you got the time to be carefree with life.
Thank you very much. And, when you're speaking about that business of the relationships, I'm thinking, isn't that really amazing, the unity that you're suggesting here above and below? Because Saturn is independently, without Uranus that co-rules with Aquarius, but Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, and it's in Pisces of collective unity. So anyway, that's one extra feature that I'm thinking, isn't this a wonderful pada? Thank you very much, Justin.
Yeah.
So we're doing a little bit of a synthesis here about the archetypal. We are archetypal symbols. Sometimes I think it should be moon glory, but still it is archetypal. And that's really the fundamental purpose, you could say, almost of everything, because it is the big picture. There's things through time that last, and it's being supported through all that we're sharing in support of the astrology is where we're focused. But there's a story, and this happens to be told again and again, between the dwarf planet Ceres, who had a daughter, Persephone. It's a mother-daughter. I know I was in a program with Liz. She's going to present. We just did this. It's the beginning of the dwarf planet Ceres that she's having. And Ceres was a sister to Pluto and Zeus. Pluto's the underground god. And who abducted her daughter. Grief-stricken, she withheld all food growing because she does represent growth of food on Earth, particularly grains and cereal, because at that time, we're talking ancient times, bread, refinement of wheat was the primary source of nourishment, or a primary source. Long story short, she was returned, and this in a sense to Earth for a certain portion of the time, and Ceres returned to nourishing the Earth. And it really relates to the agricultural cycle that we have. And along with that, it brought in the Aleutian mysteries, which is everything about death and rebirth, such as experienced through so many cycles, whether it's the eclipses, whether it's food, our life here on Earth. And it is related through the spiritual numbers of 11-2, that it is a spiritual journey, and the carrying of the moon, and the spiritual enlightenment of the tarot, and with the nakshatras of this, it's work involved with, there's so many factors here, we could go on, but really it is that supportive idea that through the work of nourishing ourselves and others, that we can overcome our grief and have those carefree moments, that life really is here for its purpose. Any thoughts?
I think you covered it well. Let's go to the next one.
Well, and I love this graphic too, that goddess there. That was amazing.
Oh, yes, indeed. So the stars, constellations, you can see it mostly in May. Virgo the maiden, one more way. And here it's Spica, which happens to be the brightest of that constellation. This is earthsky.org. And to find it, here's a graphic. You can use the Great Dipper, which is also other names, which is prominent around the world. And the handle here can lead you down to that. And right off to the side is the crow, Corvus. So you can look at that a little bit further. Let's do the Sabians. And we do a 4-step narrative story. This was been taken off since 1925. Elzie Wheeler and Mark Edmund Jones, but and it's the degrees, each one for the chart. Today, we always look at 3. It's that new moon on September 2nd at 9:55 Eastern time. So in other words, the ascendant in the midheaven will be particular to that, which corresponds to the United States. And you might say Canada, because Canada, well, it's hard to say, but they have an Eastern capital as well. The ascendant will be, for the podcast people, at 8 degrees Taurus, which is 9 degrees Sabian. The MC is 22 degrees Capricorn, which will be 23 Capricorn. It's always one above to have the Sabians, but we look at before the Sabian and after, so we're going to look at 4. And the sun and moon will be at 12 degrees Virgo for the Sabian. The ascendant at 8 degrees Taurus, which is Eastern time, is going to be 7 through 10 Taurus. The past I'll read, Liz will do the present, and Justin will do the Sabian in the future, just to give everybody an idea of how we're going to roll. So the past, where we're coming from, this little seed with its roots happening, was 7 degrees Taurus. It's a woman of Samaria at the ancestral well. This really brings up a lot of biblical ideas, people that know about the Old Testament. And it's the meeting of the traditional past with the creative spirit that points to the future, bringing up forth a new quality of being, really a transition.
And the present is Taurus 8, a sleigh on land uncovered by snow. And the keynote is the value of anticipating and preparing for expectable conditions. And the key word is future-oriented imagination.
And so Taurus 9 degrees is a fully decorated Christmas tree is the archetypal symbol here. And it's really sort of this faith in cyclic renew. And then where it's going to is a Red Cross nurse, which is all about this compassionate linking of all of us. And so it's about this consecration to humanity. And that kind of goes to what you were talking about, Sue, with the Saturn in Pisces.
It really is a wonderful archetypal start off for the whole chart. The MC, which is at the beginning of the 10th house, is at 22 degrees Capricorn. So we're looking at 21 to 24 Capricorn for the Sabian symbols. And in the past, it begins with Capricorn 21, a relay race. So it's the value of competition that develops group consciousness, really, for this world of commerce that we think of with capitalism. It seems to be our mantra almost, but it can have hopefully very positive. Here it says the value is in developing group consciousness. I think I repeated myself, and the principle of dynamic interchange.
And in the present Capricorn 22, by accepting defeat gracefully, a general reveals nobility of character. And so using that inner strength. Go ahead, Justin.
And then the Capricorn 23 degrees is a soldier receiving 2 awards for bravery in combat. And it's really talking about the reward offered when we fulfill our individual responsibilities, sort of that Capricorn responsibilities. And so the key word here is recompense. And then, of course, where we're going towards is a woman entering a covenant, which is the future here. And the keynote is a total commitment to a transcendent goal, transcendent security. And this kind of goes back to the theme, which is working hard. And then, of course, we have that sense of security if we really lean into our earth in our chart.
Okay. So the past with the actual sun and moon is at 10 degrees. It's 2 heads looking out and beyond the shadows. It's understanding through growth how we transcend this duality, and it's self-transcending, which involves the mind.
And in the present Virgo 11, in her baby, a mother sees her deep longing for a son answered. And the keynote is the spirit's answer to the vital needs of whatever became individualized out of the infinite ocean of potentialities. Imagineering.
Yes, that was a coined word. Go ahead, he made.
And the Virgo 12 degrees, after the wedding, the groom snatches the veil away from his bride. Really, what we're talking about here is a very trained, intuitive, critical mind. And so it's called unveiling. And then, of course, the future is a powerful statesman overcomes a state of political hysteria. And here we have really the concept of charisma in the Virgo archetype.
Yeah. Amazing, because not all loves what is seen as it's unveiled, I think. We're going to close this up. Go ahead. Let's do this. And then we'll be ready for that break. But I think we're almost on time. Go ahead. The key words here for ascendant, and that's what we're going to kind of tie this together. They really relate strongly. Maybe
so that for the ascendant, a new quality of being, future-oriented imagination, and faith in cyclic renewal and consecration to humanity. So I would just say it's like we're looking at things to see what we need and how can we move forward into the future, because some of the things from the past maybe aren't quite working so well.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And I would say this is, again, back to how we're using our resources, our responsibility, really leaning into the earth signs and using that intelligence of a Virgo, imagineering, to really unveil those things we need to purge and improve right now. This is about improvement.
Beautiful beginning as we enter the eclipse season, which is happening right as we speak. It's always 2 weeks ahead, at least, with the lunar moon eclipse. Thank you very much, Liz and Justin. Archetypal symbols will be right back. So stay with us. We want to stay with you. Thank you.
While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the yin period of Virgo, By leaving a cycle based on the creative manifested legacy of our highest creative form, the energy of Virgo completes the last sign below the horizon of the self and requires discernment to perfect oneself through the mental process of critical analysis. As a mutable earth sign duly ruled by Mercury, Virgo refines, heals, or fixes through daily routines, developing skills and services to control nature's chaos and maximize efficiency.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to newprosupplements.com, we cover the world of animals. This week, September 8th, it's Best Bioenergetic Synchronization Technique, Neuroenergetic Balancing, Rasmussen Reset, and Energy Code Sunday. Dr. Nels Rasmussen and Linda Rasmussen join us, and together they'll take your calls and help callers and their animal friends with emotional, behavioral, and physical issues. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Talk Cosmos brings insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for the soul growth with hour-long programs every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific on KKNW. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. And to find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com. So grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
Some people know a good thing when they hear it. Alternative Talk 1150.
Hi again, and we're returning. And just to remind people, well, actually, we'll just lead right on. Here we have Liz and Justin and myself. And Liz, tell us what's happening.
Well, on my YouTube channel, Justin and I do 2 to 3 episodes a month. And then I have a series called the Astrology Star Sisters Talk Over Tea. And Sue and I are doing a Dwarf Planet series. And then Madam Simon and I are going to do the Autumn Equinox. And then Joy Vernon and I will do the Libra Deacons. And then Marcia Bouchard and I are doing a fixed star series. And we call it You're a Sky Full of Stars. And we look forward to having you join us.
I love that name. Very insightful.
And I might say something about our Fixed Stars show. You should watch it. It's very informative.
Marcia is a wonderful.
But with Liz there together, they
exactly.
Really
they work really well. It's good teamwork. I agree.
Yeah,
it's good teamwork. It's definitely on my list. Thank you. So here we have Justin. Go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, I do some stuff on Instagram, and then I do besides doing the shows with you and with Liz, I also do a show with Michael Bartlett, who's an astrologer out of New Mexico, and we do a show called The Relationship Guys. And so check it out. We do work with Synastry and Composite and Davison charts.
Yeah, fascinating program of itself. And then, of course, your independent ones, which are a bit. And then, as you said, here I'm relating that you can watch my portion of Liz's Star Sisters Talk Over Tea on my YouTube channel. I have a playlist featuring Sue. And we started with series, and we're going to go on. I'm most excited. We both learned with Alan Clay, who has his dwarf planet. And there's many people, but it takes time to recognize. This month has quite a few lunar extravaganzas. Kaleidoscope Visions has begun doing their overview of the 4 phases, which is a good review. This is a focus with archetypal symbols on the new moon to reseed your visions. And because it's the eclipse, Planet Buzz chose to do the eclipse itself. So it's a very strong with Dr. Susie Holbrook, who's a medical doctor, who's an evolutionary astrologer also. It'll be quite exciting. I need to remind people we have a brand new panel that is really focused on this pivotal year and extended on to next year with U.S. global currents. And we covered both elections. Well, it's US 24. Anyway, it's about the Democratic convention, and coming up will be the swing states. So tune into that, and it's exciting. Thank you for joining and signing up for Talk Cosmos. The new moon is at 9:55:22 p.m. Eastern Time, DC, Washington, D.C. on the 2nd. And in London, that will be on their calendar day, the same moment, but they clock it at September 3rd. But it's early in the morning, just after midnight, 1 a.m., 55:22 minutes a.m. And you can check this for other moments. And go on Talk Cosmos. I have a little thing there. You can find out exactly times too. What's continuing is the dwarf planet series. The most important dwarf planet, she lies between Mars and in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. First thought of as an asteroid. Was hard to know what she was. She wandered on Earth disguised anyway. It really goes into the whole idea of who is she, and the fact that it's about nourishing and rebirth. She's out of bounds. All these are taking huge emphasis for a long time. It's 9 months, 8 months, from April 2nd all the way to January 15th. We are in her realm.
And Sue, if I may, just talking about the whole concept of out of bounds, and of course, Liz, correct me if I'm wrong here, but this particular moon is going to, that we've got this moon is going to be out of bounds. This lunar phase is going to be out of bounds between September 10th and 14th. And then again, between the 23rd and the 27th. And of course, that means that pay attention to emotions with this moon cycle, because during those dates, people are going to probably act a little bit out of bounds when it comes to their emotions.
Such a good point. I'm glad you and Liz remind me of this, because the moon goes out of bounds in a period of 10 years. And we're in that 10-year period. It comes and it goes, but it's a reoccurring cycle. And so clocking it is very useful. I'm glad to have you reminded. And we're early on. We still have like 7 years left of it. So it's a real process here. Emotions matter. But when you're going through transitions, that's key. If we didn't have emotions, we wouldn't be human. Something to remember. It's how we use them, right? So Ceres is also T-squaring. That means it's toggling between in this relationship nodal. So our relationships are paramount, and that's an action sign. We're making changes all the time. It's really important. And this is a chart. This is found on Solar Fire. It's showing here at the top, and a little graph with all the declinations, which also relates to latitude. I had another thought, but I'm going to go on. Okay. Many aspects, they're all angular, it's geometric. However, we're doing hard and soft. Hard is when there's action. It's a square, 90 degrees, or else a sesquiquadrate, which is a square and a half, adding up to 135, where it's more action. Attention. And the soft means essentially it's flowing. It can mean that there's no action. You just kind of go like a spinning wheel and you need to be stopped. That's the downside of it. But generally, it's a supportive energy. It's 120 degrees for a trine and sextiles for 60, which is connecting. And connecting has been sometimes overlooked, but essentially it's very powerful. What do we have besides connections? And right now, Jupiter and Mars are in Gemini, which is all about connections. Maybe too many, but there you go. That's what Virgo does. It helps us discern. So just a reminder as we breathe deep, the journey is within. So on we go. This is looking at the sun. Liz, you have some comments?
Well, I wanted to make a comment that as we go into this new moon, the day before, Uranus stations retrograde, and Mercury recently stationed direct, and then Pluto is re-entering Capricorn. So there's this energy of the stations, which we feel heavily and intensely for a week on either side. And then also we're in the eclipse window, which you mentioned earlier too. So that intensifies the energy a little bit there.
Absolutely. our communication. That's right. And our whole transformative process. And with Uranus, what was that one of the last first one that you said? Remind me.
Uranus Stationed Retrograde.
Oh, yes.
Today
So
that
things
we're
are
filming.
yeah, things are like in that's what I noticed with the aspects, was that Pluto is going to have one of the most aspects along with Uranus. Amazingly, the other planets aren't really aspected so much, meaning we're in this deep transformational process where the world is bringing forth a lot of energy. So how flexible, thankfully, Virgo's a flexible sign for Earth. It's not like earthquakes. It's more like breaking away and letting the new growth form new tributaries for the water to fall in and nourish people.
Right. And with the new moon, we have this grand trine with the sun and moon to Pholus and Ceres. And
Well, we'll get into that. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But just a focus on the sun and moon, particularly the moon. That's my thought, was that it's about, yes, nurturing and the health of nurturing with Hygeia. And it's looking objectively across to, okay, how can we prune? How can we get to the essential stuff Saturn wants it, even though, and collectively useful to everybody? But it's a process, because as you reminded me, Liz, to bring up the fact that it's juggling that transformation with Pluto. It's not an easy fix, but it's the agenda that we've got in mind.
Okay.
Actually, it's not it's a sesquiquadrate. It's more work. It's not.
So I wanted to hear what Liz was going to say about this grand trine, because I wanted to speak to this grand trine as well, because it's on the slide there. What were you going to say about the trine, Liz, with Pholus, Hygeia, and the moon?
And then, yeah, because so we have this grand trine in Earth. So, and it's, we've already talked about, the midheaven and the ascendant and the sun and moon being in Earth. So it's to help us reground, I believe.
Yeah. And I would agree with that. And I feel like, because Pholus in Capricorn is about change of structure and stability. And then, of course, we got the Virgo, which is about perfecting and improving. And then in Hygeia, which is about concern about resources here, that this could be a time where we really focus on the stability of our resources, stability of our work, even taking care of our bodies, because that has a relation with Taurus and that. So I think this really does have an easy flow here of what you were saying, Liz, and also how it's helping us improve those areas for ourselves.
And I would say any kind of health changes that you make for yourself, it's a good time to build on that, because the Earth, settles it in, and you can build a good foundation to make changes to your health.
Yeah.
It is a new seed point, and the action that we're being asked to give for those very beneficial purposes, which we will repeat again. I forgot I had those listed, so it's excellent to set off the tempo of our purpose here. Again, there's that dynamic square that Ceres is asking us to look at our relationships, but this time the South Node is being joined by a whole legacy of folks. It's Juno of what are we married to? What's our alliances? And Venus, what's our values in those relationships? Are they obstructing how we're going forward with our directions in Aries? And Black Moon Lilith, who says, hey, just remember who you are. It's really you purely. Don't fudge and give away what you are to other people. You go ahead.
Well, and evaluate your relationships even more intensely with, it's a T square, but it's also that conjunction in Libra, and really looking at your relationships and do I want to continue the same path that I've been on, but I really don't like it? Or is it time to release what no longer serves? And that can be in any form. You could want to move closer to your children or some close friends. It doesn't have to just
or projects, enterprises. Exactly. No, that's exactly. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to point out this in conjunctive. We're talking about the period of change here because, and for the audience's perspective, just let them know whenever there's a quincunx or in conjunction there, it's important to look at which planets involved are trining other planets. The trine informs us about the quincunx, and so in this particular case, we've got Mars, which is about action, and Pluto's about change, and they're quincunxing. But then if you look at the trines, Pluto's trining Uranus, the other planet there of rebellion and change. So we're definitely, Pluto's playing an important role here with Mars and Uranus in this chart, showing this action that's going to happen right at this particular period of time. That's pretty dynamic.
It is. And I'm glad, because I too was thinking that those actions, it always means in a quincunx that's what a lesson we need to learn. So it's how we find those actions. And it is in Gemini, so it's gathering more information. And thank goodness the energies are in Virgo, even though in this chart, it's just the sun and the moon. But hey, that's us as an ego and our emotional basis. So it's all funneling through, choosing as life is just throwing us information, what's really going to work. And I know I'm certainly experiencing it. Yeah.
Well, and I agree with how you say the new seed point, because it feels like we're on that precipice of making changes.
Absolutely. And here again, we have two T-squares, which again toggle between two other points. There's a focus planet, and they're all interacting in this dynamic action change. And one of them is with Ceres, as we keep reminding, because she is there. I will say, for instance, well, I will say it. On television, there was a show about Afghanistan and musicians that had to be relocated when the Taliban came in. And they went to Portugal, and now they're going to play in Carnegie Hall. It's a whole orchestra of students that left their families for the grief, which is really amazing. You talk about parents and children. In the meantime, the Taliban, unfortunately, have destroyed 21,000 musical instruments, which to me as a musician just breaks my heart. Whenever I saw rock stars destroy their instrument, they may as well have been crashing their head in. It was like, please don't do that. It's not anyway. So there's a lot of, we're in a long series of it's how do we find nurturing? Well, the nurturing was that these children are still playing their music, and they're going to be playing at Carnegie Hall and New York Performance Center, meaning that they're bringing their joy in their life and their resilience to other people and nourishing their own people that have also transplanted. It's just one way to think of outside the box, because with Saturn, I know I've been thinking, well, how does it relate to us? Well, Saturn in Pisces is like there's a collective. I had to add that.
Well, and the other T-square is Mercury is square to Pallas Athena and Uranus.
Go for it.
Lots of change. And, maybe, a plan, or because Pallas Athena is strategy. So maybe the plan needs a little bit of reworking, perhaps. Or there's some kind of change that plan's not going to work now. So now we have to make a new plan and maybe have a little bit more communication about what that might be.
I will add, I was waiting for Justin here, but yes, Liz.
I think Liz got it covered there.
Well, with Uranus and Sedna, which really, because we're doing dwarf planets, what I love, because Sedna has just entered Gemini, and it takes us a while to understand this huge picture of Sedna that says, just stop being conditioned, get to what is really you. You are this goddess energy, whether male, female, and it's involved with the suddenness. So there's a backdrop that life is throwing us, maybe much like my story with Afghanistan there, that is showing that people, life may throw you curves, but you can really manifest what is happening, because it is that process of the big picture. It's not linear. This was something I was going to add at the very beginning of our show, and I will right now. But it allows those inspired visualizations, because we're manifesting, to occur. it is where we step away from just Virgo always being the eagle that says it. Now, how are we going to structure it on our calendar in our head to realize that life intervenes and to creatively use that? So thank you for bringing up attention to Pallas. It's our thinking. Thank you, Liz.
You're welcome. Justin, you want to talk about the finger of God?
Well, yeah, I think that the to the point of what I was saying before, one of the things, if people really want to understand Pluto and Uranus, there's Richard Tarnas has written really about how these cycles happen between Uranus and Pluto. And we're in a really big period right now because these two planets are trining. And so this quincux here, I think, as we were talking about between the Mars and Pluto and with Pallas patterns, I think this is a good time to look at patterns of old patterns of the way we've been doing things. And I think Pallas Athena here is really helping us see patterns in when we've done changes prior, and how we deal with change now as a behavioral patterns, and behavioral because it's Scorpio. Psychological patterns here.
Good points. Yes. Pluto is, as an old phrase, the name of the game. He went into Capricorn as of this date, and he is also in a point of Thales that I realized as I constructed this, which is a constructive aspect. That's when a focal point does both a trine and a sextile oppositions, which involves Pallas Athena and Uranus and Sedna. So it's this big transformational process that we've been talking about. And Pluto is aspecting a ton of planets, unlike the others that are really very focused. So I didn't bring everything up here. You certainly can't. But I did try to illustrate on this where some of the side characters that main astrology considers, like Pallas, are being affected, and Lilith and etc. But thoughts here?
No, I think you covered it, and I think I'm waiting to get to the next slide.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Is there another one? Okay. Oh, yes. How did we
Yes.
forget this one? Oh,
Well,
my
we
goodness.
didn't. I
Go
didn't,
ahead.
because
No.
that trine between the Libra party of Black Moon, Lilith, Venus, the South Node, Juno, and I know Eris is there, to Pluto, then it makes a kite to Neptune, and then trine to Uranus. So that grand trine is all aspecting the outer, or touching and aspecting the outer planets. So, and it's with the South Node, so it's really doing a review of how do we want to transform and move forward, and what are we going to let go of, in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, if I was to say, because I know we don't have much time left, to summarize this, I would say here we've talked about a lot of change we're going through, but how we meet those challenges of change, I think, is really through evaluating what's worked, what hasn't worked, really just persevere through this Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus energy, working hard, and things are going to work out. What do you all think?
Well, I agree with this 100%. And I'm really focused on that South Node with Venus that's sitting there with our Juno, that's asking us, and Black Moon, but asking us to really look at how are we married to what we're married to. It's not an easy process in Libra whatsoever. It always looks at two sides, and it wants to be so judicial and fair. Yet really, that's where Black Moon Lilith is going, hey, you there, you're hugging your tree of life. Use that tree of life and work further. And you're saying too, reminding that there's patterns involved. So maybe some of those patterns need to be adjusted. Virgo needs to help discern those, because there is a method. It is hard work, but breathe and enjoy that hammock.
Well, and review and re-envision your dreams and desires, because not that they're impossible or anything, but they could have just, you might need to shift them a little bit.
Yes. Here is the whole chart for those that want to look at that a little bit more. And thank you always. We have different ones to do, and I'm trying to get that closed. Nathan, oh, we're lost. Oh, goody. Okay, there we are. We have a moment, just us. My goodness. I guess we're getting ready for the eclipse season, yes?
Yep. I can feel it coming already.
Oh, I know. And I know I'm juggling all the time, but it helps to know that there's a lot of stability and groundedness, as you have said. We're not just pie in the sky going through these. You know, we have maybe a life jacket, a boat, a seagull to.
Well, and since it's the outer planets, it doesn't happen in one day. It's a process. It takes time.
Right. And allow that. Yes, thank you very much. Because that visualization is not linear. It's like getting that spiritual feedback. The hermit, have some introspection. Realize the big game of the game. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Justin. Thank you all to the audience. Manifest beautifully. We'll see you next month on this show.
Thank you for joining an insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests awaken consciousness by connecting soul growth patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next Sunday, 1 p.m. Pacific Time, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.